What is unemployment? Have you learned about this? You probably know what unemployment is, but in this video, you'll be getting a more in-depth look into unemployment. I'll be talking about all you need to know in unemployment, from how you can measure it to what happens when labor unions and the government gets involved. Before we dive in further, eggheads, hit that like button, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get updates on our latest videos. We'll first start off with a story. After World War II, Germany was divided into Russia and Western powers. You had the East and the West. The West became a capitalist nation, while the East was under the influence of Russia, so it was mostly leaning towards communism. For a few decades, the economy of West Germany was progressive, while East Germany was struggling. In the year 1989, there was a popular uprising. The Berlin Wall was broken down, which was a symbol of the separation of the East and the West. So after that, it was as if Germany went back to being a unified state, but after the unification, suddenly the unemployment rate started to increase in East Germany, while West Germany's unemployment rate seemed to be unfazed. The unemployment rate was 12%, which was double the percentage for that of West Germany. It was unprecedented because there was a flow of resources going into East Germany from the West. The government started to try mitigating the unemployment rates, but nothing seemed to be proving effective. So what exactly happened there? First off, let's define unemployment, shall we? Unemployed people are the people who currently do not have a job but are looking for a job. For you to be classified as an unemployed person, you need to be actively searching for a job. So are people who are retired considered as unemployed because they don't have a job? No, because they aren't active searching for one. What about people who aren't capable of working, such as those who are disabled? Can they be considered unemployed? No, because they can't work to begin with and fall under a different category. Basically, what I'm trying to point out is being unemployed doesn't just mean you don't have a job. There are lots of other different categories that people with no jobs fall into, other than just unemployed. Another example of a category is what you call discouraged workers. The people who fall into this category are the people who don't have a job and have given up looking or applying for a job, and these people are not included in the unemployment rate. There are also the underemployed people, people who are working part-time but want a full-time job. These people are not included in the unemployment rate either, since they do have a job but are looking for another job. Since we've tackled what unemployment is, now it's time to discuss how we can compute the unemployment rate. Economists compute the unemployment rate by taking the amount of the country's employed workers plus the unemployed workers, and the total is what you call the labor force of the country. If you want to know how many people of working age are available for work, you'll have to compute the labor force participation rate. The labor force participation rate is equal to the labor force over the population age, which is 16 and older times 100. The population is 16 and older because it's a legal working age in the country. For the unemployment rate, you can also compute it as the number of unemployed people divided by labor force multiplied by 100. The Census Bureau isn't knocking on everyone's door, asking who has a job and who doesn't. If they were to do this wouldn't even be possible, or if possible, then it would take years. So how do they even get the data to compute with? They get a sample from 60,000 households to see who is employed or who is unemployed but is actively looking for a job. After they do that, they scale it up to the whole population. The unemployment rate is not by all means 100% accurate, since not everyone is accounted for, but it's still a good basis. The rate of unemployment increases when in a recession, and on the flip side, it decreases when in a period of expansion. Most of the time, it's not always the case, since sometimes unemployment rates can still continue to go up, even when in an expansion, if the expansion isn't growing fast enough. How low can the unemployment rate get to? The lowest unemployment rate the US has ever had in our history is 2.9%. So if our unemployment rate is just around 4%, then it's already good enough. The unemployment rate could never get to zero. Why is that? That is because we're talking about actual people who have to live and adapt in the economy. These people who have actual jobs and have to find actual jobs. Businesses will be established, which will make more jobs available to the people, and businesses will be shut down, which will make some people lose their jobs. Sometimes there are people who have a job already, but want a different job. There are also others who are just in between jobs, so there's always going to be unemployment. The time people spend in between jobs is called frictional unemployment. This may sound like it's not a good thing, but it actually is in a way, because this means that there are more jobs being made available for people, and people are just taking their time to figure out which job they want. So, in our unemployment rate, we can say that a small part of that is people who are classified into frictional unemployment. It's difficult now to find jobs, especially when there are so many workers, that there just aren't enough jobs for everyone. There will always be at least some frictional unemployment since there's always going to be workers who are looking for jobs, even if there are more than enough jobs available to the people. So, we've talked about several kinds of unemployment already, but there's another one I want to talk about. This is called structural unemployment. What's structural unemployment? In an equilibrium wage, structural unemployment happens when the wage is above that equilibrium. In what instance can you find the wage above the equilibrium? Usually it's because the government sets a minimum wage. The minimum wage is also called the price floor. A price floor implies that there is more supply in labor and there's more demand for labor, which results in a surplus. This basically shows structural unemployment. The government imposing a minimum wage is one of the ways structural employment can happen, but there are other ways as well where we can experience this. Another way is through labor unions. What are labor unions? It's when people come together for a labor union for it to be easier negotiating with firms, because there's more people to be heard rather than just one. Better chances of negotiation when people who have a common goal work together. When more people come together, the more power they have for negotiation. What is the one thing all workers want? It's higher wages. If they're able to negotiate higher wages above the equilibrium, then structural unemployment happens. In order to attract more workers, firms can also raise their wages, which can also result in structural unemployment. When economists measure unemployment, this speaks of the natural rate of unemployment. Frictional unemployment added to structural unemployment is the natural rate of unemployment. Natural rate of unemployment is basically the percentage of unemployment that's natural to a country. Let's go back to the story. What happened was that after the unification, West Germany's wages were higher than that of the East, so the people from the East demanded for higher wages too, which resulted in structural unemployment. That's all for today, Eggheads. I hope we gave you a clear description of unemployment. If you found this video useful, please subscribe, click the like button, and hit that notification bell to move further with each video towards being an egghead yourself. Catch you on the next video, aspiring eggheads!